Between the years of 1989 and 1992, America was under the presidency of George H.W. Bush. Through these years, Bush was faced with things such as the end of the Cold War, Operation Just Cause, the Persian Gulf War, and the LA riots. Today, we will look more closely at these events through Bush's career. In 1988, Bush was the Republican candidate for the presidential campaign with Dan Quayle as his running mate. Bush ran up against the Democratic candidate Michael Dukakis. Bush won with the electoral vote of 426 and the popular vote of 48 million. The reason Dukakis lost was probably due to the Willie Horton case. Horton was a convict felon released by the Weekend Furlough program. During this time, Horton raped and murdered a woman. Later on in the campaign, Bush would use this against Dukakis. Dukakis supported the idea of the Weekend Furlough program. After the Horton case, Bush had a guaranteed victory.
Of course Dukakis lost. Who wants a president who lets guys like Horton run around and do what they want?
One of the first events in Bush's career was Operation Just Cause. In 1989, the U.S. invaded Panama. It was Bush's decision to send 2,500 troops there. Their mission was to take down Manuel Noriega for drug trafficking. The U.S. won in 1990 after Manuel surrendered. Now, Manuel is serving 40 years in prison in Miami.
Manuel had what was coming to him. He threatened us and started it. You don't go into a war with America just expecting to have a clean victory, especially if you're a country like Panama.
Following Operation Just Cause, America and the Soviet Union were nearing the end of the Cold War. In 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev took leadership in the Soviet Union. In Eastern Germany, the communist government failed and the Berlin Wall fell, uniting West and East Germany. In 1991, Bush and Gorbachev signed the START Treaty. This treaty was about the reduction and the limitation of strategic offensive arms. It limited it to no more than 6,000 warheads and 1,600 ICBMs.
This was a huge achievement in American history. If anything, this was one of the highlights of President Bush's career.
As we settled our differences with the Soviet Union, America was dragged into another war. Under the leadership of Saddam Hussein, Iraq invaded Kuwait. Middle Eastern countries called on the United States and the United Nations for aid. Saddam had a chance to withdraw from Kuwait, but refused. Operation Desert Storm was put into action. The United Nations coalition was made up of Kuwait, United States, United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, France, Canada, Egypt, Syria, Qatar, Oman, and Bangladesh. Leading this coalition was General Norman Schwarzkopf.
America just couldn't get a break at this time. First we're dealing with Operation Just Cause, then the end of the Cold War, and now we have Saddam Hussein on our hands.
Things began to escalate within America as well. In 1992, a videotape was released of white police officers beating up the African-American citizen Rodney King. After the videotape was seen, riots broke out. These riots lasted from April 29th to May 4th. By the end, over 11,000 were arrested, 2,000 were injured, and 53 were killed.
This has to be the worst event in Bush's presidency. Even after all the legislation we've passed, we still can't get over color barriers.
Bush also had the issue of Clarence Thomas being elected to Supreme Court. There was much controversy over this, not only because he was an African American, but because he was accused of sexual harassment. A law professor from the University of Oklahoma named Amita Hill accused Thomas of sexual harassment. Thomas was never convicted and was later elected to Supreme Court.
Well, the fact that Anita Hill was so intent on accusing Clarence Thomas of sexual harassment, I don't think he deserves to be on the Supreme Court, considering she was so serious about it that he definitely sexually harassed her.
Finally, the 1992 elections rolled in. Bush was up against the Democratic candidate Bill Clinton and the independent candidate Ross Perot. Clinton later won with 370 electoral votes. Bush lost a lot of popularity. because his Congress, who were mainly Democrats, influenced him to raise taxes. This, however, was fatal for Bush because this went against his saying, "No new taxes."
Personally, I think it was time for Bush to step down and have Clinton step up.
Bush had a significant presidency. He had many challenges, and he had many ways to overcome these challenges. So, in 1992, should Bush have been re-elected, or is it right to have Clinton take his place?
I want to watch that.